All right, everybody. Good to see you back here again. This is Pro Football Enterprises. I am Ben Parker, and that is Simon Short. We have another offensive lineman here tonight, Monroe Freeling from Georgia. Simon loves the offensive line. I love the offensive line. We can't wait to get into it. I already know, Simon already knows he's higher on Monroe Freeling than I am, but I like him too. And he's been soaring up boards. There's a lot of people that like him, so we'll see exactly where he lands come draft day. But we did want to do a prospect profile on him here. So let me quickly set the table and then I'll hand it straight to Simon. Height 6'7", weight 315, and the RAS turned out a popping 999. So he did very well on the testing that he did at the NFL Combine. Simon, let's get right into it, man. Your thoughts, initial thoughts here on Monroe Freeling.
Yeah, I absolutely love Monroe Freeling. I mean, and this wasn't just a combine thing, although obviously the combine stuff stuck out. Like you mentioned the size and the length and the RAS score and everything. But you go and you watch the film based on that, and you watch under the context that people are still kind of knocking Freeling for, and that was, as a 1 year starter essentially. You're like, man, this guy's ceiling is unbelievable. And I don't just mean ceiling is unbelievable in the sense that like he's athletic and he's big, so his ceiling's really high, but it's the stuff he's already doing right now. He doesn't turn 22 till the summer. So as a 21-year-old with only 1 year truly starting under his belt, and you look at some of the ways he got snaps in 2024, just being like a fill-in as guys got hurt and he's playing either side. And like 2024, his first game that he played real snaps was against Ole Miss in like week 11, I think. And he's splitting snaps at left and right tackle because Tate Rutledge and Ernest Green III both were dealing with injuries throughout the game. So here's this 20-year-old kid who's never really been a full-time starter as a sophomore coming in and just playing right tackle and left tackle throughout the game for 50 some snaps against Ole Miss when Princely Umanmielen and Walter Nolan and these guys are out there. So like that was pretty sick. And looking at his film then compared to now and just like the growth that you're already seeing from that, and you're like, oh well, now I can project what this ball of clay is going to be now with these traits because here are the real nitty gritty traits, right? Someone's hearing all this profile stuff and they're like, oh yeah, that's cute. Well, what can he actually do? Here's what he can do. So he uses that length and that frame and has a really powerful and strong anchor. If someone's trying to bull rush him because they're thinking, hey, he's got a wide, target area right there in the chest with, long, being kind of long, being still a little thin, honestly. Um, let's hit him in the chest. He's got a great anchor and he's got really strong hands. So if he gets his hands on you, he's not letting go for the most part. Um, I do think something that you can see between 2024 and 2025, which is the biggest deal, is him getting stronger. Because in that first year, as a sophomore, he is, losing blocks. He's falling off blocks a little bit. Combination of balance and strength. Well, that got better in 2025. So needs to do a little bit more, but he's got good overall anchor. He can reset. He keeps his feet moving, which is really important for a tall offensive lineman like that, and he is able to kind of sustain his blocks, especially with his good hand use. So not only does he have strong hands, but he has good hands. He can reposition them. He can move them independently. He's got a good punch. He's able to work the defender coming at him with his hands really, really well. Um, his superpower. He gets out in space, man. And I've said this for years now. There's levels to like making blocks and how far away from the line of scrimmage you can make blocks. Everybody should be able to do it on the line of scrimmage in a phone booth inside the tackle box. Good players can get out in space and move around a little bit and at least be like moving targets out there, kind of just getting in the way of defensive backs. Monroe Freeling has one of those superpowers of he can get out in space and he can actually make a block 20 yards downfield. He can actually get out there on the hoof, pick out a corner, and get his hands on him and move around a little bit and make a real block downfield. And that is so hard. That's something only the best, most athletic offensive linemen do, and he can do that. Working back closer to the line of scrimmage, run game, he gets real push. Sometimes these like longer, thinner offensive linemen, your best hope is just like get hands on a guy and kind of turn him one way or another, wall him off, which Freeland can do. But he can get a real push. He can get a pop. He can displace guys, and he can get work off of one guy and then get to the next guy at the next level after that. There are plenty of plays where he's kind of pinning down a defensive lineman and then working to the linebacker next and pinning that guy too. So this guy just big, strong, tough, does the dirty work. That height at 6'7" makes the balance a little bit of an issue, especially on short yardage plays. So if there's a QB power run or like an inside handoff or something, or third and one kind of deal, that's the only time I've really seen him duck his head because he's trying to get low enough to make the play, and that's when it's really bad, the off balance stuff. Um, Other than that, the balance thing I don't have an issue with. And I think I saw it more as I was prepping for this show again, where he is still ending up on the ground a little more than I want in 2025. Um, but again, that's not a technique thing to me. And it's either going to be a technique thing, the balance issues, or a strength thing for guys. And it's not a technique for him because he keeps those feet moving. He has good hand use, so it's not like people are just getting into his body and knocking him down. And he doesn't duck his head most of the time, right? So he's got good technique. So he just needs to keep getting stronger. And again, for a guy that's 6'7", 315 pounds, and only 21 years old, and he's got a good frame. Like I think he's gonna get to. I could see him getting to 320, 325, and if he's just getting stronger over the course of that, then I don't think there's going to be anything this guy can't do. So I am absolutely in love with Monroe Freeling. I think the highest I could see him going, I mean, I could see him if someone took him. I mean, the Jets aren't going to take him at 2. If the Cardinals wanted to take him at 3 and flip him to right tackle, they could. It's not what I would do. I think it's close enough between him and a Maui Noah or Spencer Fano. I'd rather just take the right side player if I'm the Cardinals, but I wouldn't blast them for it. Um, I get Joe Alt vibes. Like he's not as refined as Joe Alt, but when the Chargers took Joe Alt and moved him to right tackle, I was like, yeah, makes sense. They've got a left tackle. I think Alt's athletic enough to do it. Um, but like the Browns at 6 need a left tackle. That would not be too high for Monroe Freeling.
That's all very good work there and very well put too. That's excellent on Monroe Freeling. I'm fixing to beat him up on the tape some,
No,
but
don't you do it. Don't you
bef
dare.
before I do, it's important to preface based off what you just said. When you tell me, and when we talk about a guy that's 21 years old, it's 21, 22, whenever he is at the start of the season, and he's got that size and he's got the athleticism, and you're talking about high ceilings that haven't been reached yet. That alone, when you're talking left tackles, is enough to draft him anywhere you want. Okay. I mean, heck, we're talking about Caden Proctor, who's uber talented, but it's just sloppy as all get out, inconsistent as all get out. People are talking about him first round because of position and talent, right? So that alone is enough to just rinse away this tape that I'm fixing to beat him up on, okay? Because we're going to assume that he's going to get better. And I think that's a fair assumption. Now, I actually would feel better if he was right tackle. When I see his play style and what he's naturally good at, I would like him better at right tackle, but I'm not planning to do that. I'm judging him at left tackle, and that's where I'm assuming he's going to stay. And that's where the tape work will come from. Okay, so here we go. I watched his 25 highlights. I always do that to see what they look like when they're at their best. I watched them against Georgia Tech, Texas. I watched the first Ole Miss regular season game in 25, and then I watched him versus Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl, and then I watched him against Auburn. I also watched him against Tennessee. So I watched as much tape as I could with the time I had just to get a handle on this guy. The Auburn tape doesn't count because he missed most of the first half because he was injured. They were struggling and put him in because they just needed some help. He got roasted several times by Auburn edge guys, but it still helped to have him out there. All right. It really did. So the Auburn tape doesn't count. I don't hold that against him. He was basically playing on one and a half leg. You could see it. You could see him limping hard throughout that game. So the very fact that he was out there counts in his favor that he manned up through the pain. And I don't count anything against him when I see the Auburn guys beating him. Okay. So that's that. Pass blocking. Let's see. Let me start right here. He got constant help in pass blocking. Georgia helped him in pass blocking with one tight end, two tight ends, most of the game. So he got a lot of help there in pass blocking. Um, Especially when they were lining up against Colin Simmons from Texas. Um, they a lot of help there. Okay. He can be beat inside. It's not normal. it's not routine, but I saw it twice against Texas. I saw it in the second Ole Miss game. You can beat him inside, but again, that's not the norm. He can, oddly enough, and he does have a great anchor. I mean, he's got a great anchor. There were even times I saw him driven into the quarterback against Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Wasn't the norm. You know, you're talking once or twice a game. That's it. Okay. And again, he's young. It's another reason I would feel better about him at right tackle, but I'm assuming we're sticking him at left tackle here. Um, got pushed around a good bit in the first game by the Ole Miss larger players. Ole Miss did something that was very unusual. They have some gigantic people playing the defensive line and specifically shoving them out there to defensive end. I mean, they're like 340.
Hmm.
And in that first Ole Miss game, he really struggled with that sheer size coming at him. But that's not what he's normally going to go up against at the NFL level. It is something to note, though. He does, as you already mentioned, he does need to add a little mass if he can and get a little stronger. I assume at the pro level, that's exactly what he'll do. The speed thing probably is the one that worries me the most here. He got beat three times in the first Ole Miss game by speed guys, straight off the edge. Once was a sack, I think, on a 2-point conversion attempt. And then in the second Ole Miss game, he got beat three more times by speed guys. And then against Tennessee, he got beat twice more by speed guys. But again, when you tell me he's young, which he is, you tell me he hasn't had a ton of experience at that spot, which he hasn't. I'm assuming he's going to get better at that, but it is worth noting the speed guys just in those three games got by him 8 times, all right, that I counted. So it is worth noting there. In the second Ole Miss game, he looked better in pass blocking, but Ole Miss just poured a bunch of resources up the middle in that Sugar Bowl game. It was almost like they didn't even need to go over there to where Freeling was because they were destroying Georgia up the middle. Just racked it up. Um, let me run on down here to the run blocking. Sorry, my notes are a little bit backwards here for this, so I apologize. The run blocking is excellent. You already mentioned it. It's excellent. At the line, at second level, maintains and sustains the blocks. I mean, it's clean, it's pretty. The Georgia Tech tape is actually his best tape out of all the games I watched, where he just basically dominated on that side, but clean and beautiful. Um, he is better, I noticed, at moving straight ahead to second levels than he
Hmm.
is moving out towards, say, stretch zone blocking or boundary blocking. I apologize for the brain fart here. Williams, the Hall of Fame left tackle for the 49ers. What's his
Trent
name?
Williams.
Yeah, yeah.
Trent. Hmm.
Yeah, Trent Lewis. You can see him going all the way out everywhere, not just straight ahead, but you see him going all the way out there. I didn't see as much of that from Freeling, but Freeling often blocks two guys on one play. He'll hammer one guy right here and immediately bounce off of that and hit a guy at second level. It really is clean as he moves up through there. It's almost like watching a video game of him, but I did notice it's more straight line type stuff than it is moving clear over to boundaries, say on screens out there to the side. So I really like the run blocking. It is beautiful. There are times, I think you mentioned this, in both Ole Miss games where he is reaching, struggling a little bit to reach the second guy. You'll see him dive a little bit, get off balance a little bit. But again, that's not the norm. Ole Miss has a lot of athletes, which makes it difficult. I'm going to stop right there. I've got another section of notes here, but I don't want to leave you out too long here. So give me some more stuff here on Monroe Freeling. Anything at all you want to run by here on Freeling?
I actually had a question for those speed rushers on Ole Miss. How are they beating him? Were they just straight speed on the outside and was he late getting there? Or would you say like he got there and they like pulled a move on him? Like how would you describe how he was getting beat?
Honestly, I didn't see many moves. It looked like a
Just he was
speed thing. Yeah. Yeah, I
so
didn't I didn't see many moves.
okay, and that definitely tracks for me. It makes sense because to me, like, I think that's just gonna be a reps thing, man. I think that's just gonna be a like how well those guys are timing things up on Ole Miss defensive line and how well he can time things up on on the offense because he obviously has the athleticism and the length, right, to
Right.
not get
Right.
beat to the outside. So I think that's and I'll that's a really good note, and I'll go back and watch that as well before the draft. But to me, that's a combination of needs to get out of the stance quicker, which makes sense at 6 foot, at his frame, right? He's got to hit that. Now he's
Yeah.
athletic enough to do it, so he can hit that. And then like maybe a little bit of nerves about like, ooh, I could get beat back inside, so let me not overextend, right? So I need to go back and watch exactly how that happens. Who did something similar like that, and these guys are two very different size profiles, was Will Campbell, right? When you go back and watch Will Campbell's
Yeah.
first full, well, not first full year as a starter at LSU, I guess his sophomore season, and it was like, okay, he's just not getting out as fast as you want. Um, why is that? And then you go and you watch his juniors, and it's like, oh, okay, he's got this solved. And I think it's a reps confidence thing. Like, I need to know I'm not gonna like get exposed by being beat inside if I really push to the outside, and just like the comfort with the timing. So to me, those are things, if you're a viewer, listening to that and you're like, oh, that doesn't sound good. Like, I think those things are correctable, especially just with reps more than anything else.
Yeah. And listen, my feeling on Freeling is different than other offensive line guys that you and I have, not agreed on. I do feel like when I watch Freeling, he's a guy who will get better. He
Hmm.
looks like he can start to handle business. Maybe he's never dominant against speed edgers, but I do feel like when I watch him that this is a guy who can improve against those edgers and
Yeah.
clean some of that up. I don't doubt that at all. All right, here's my second set of
Cool.
notes. We'll get back to you. The athleticism, I I I think it's above average. I don't think it's elite. I'll tell you why in just a second. But it is smooth, it is efficient, it is consistent. It's clean. It looks really natural. I mean, I really do
Hmm.
love the athleticism. It just looks so natural, especially for a guy his size. I think that's one of the really pristine things about him that makes you go, yeah, this could be my tackle for the next 10 years. I really do see that. Okay. So the reason I don't have it is elite is I don't see him pull down the line
Hmm.
and I don't see him go clear the boundary. And the people that I have seen do that are Panay Sewell, Christian Darrisaw, and Trent Williams. That's the
Hmm.
only reason I don't pump him up to elite athleticism. I could see those other guys pulling all the way across the offensive line to make blocks on the other side. And I've seen them, especially Trent Williams, I've seen them go clear to boundary with blocking, design blocking. I didn't see that he had that range, if you will, but more back within a smaller range. I thought his athleticism was tremendous, and I thought it was so fluid, and I thought it was so efficient that still it's way above average, as you've already mentioned, is where I had him on the athleticism thing. Strength, anchors well, drives guys to the side consistently. I did feel like he wasn't necessarily dominating guys that are his size or bigger. He's not losing, but I didn't see him just throwing people aside like rag dolls when they were as big as he was or bigger. So again, can he get stronger? Yes. I think we've already established that. I just didn't see him manhandling bigger guys. Quick notes here on Georgia in 25 that does give me a little bit more pause on the pass blocking thing, which is always my big thing for tackles. Georgia ran the football 58% of the time in 2025. That's a lot even for a college team. That's a lot. On those 42% of the time when they passed the ball, 30% of those were screenplays of some sort. It was a really, really, really dialed down offense in which basically, and I didn't quite crunch the numbers, 75 to 80% of their stuff was at the line of scrimmage.
Hmm. Hmm.
So to his deficit, he wasn't exposed a lot as a pass blocker, one on one on deep throws. But also to his credit, he didn't get a lot of practice
Right.
operating against guys while throwing deep, right? So,
Hmm.
you can take that as a wash if you want to. Um, Georgia just did not, for several reasons, they did not throw the football downfield much in 25. So take that for what it's worth. I'll go back to one last thing on him. The toughness he shows. I think this is one tough guy. I really do. The injury he played through at Auburn, but that injury also was a little bit after that as well that he was nursing that. He continued to play. Sometimes in the fourth quarters of games, you could see it wearing on him. He'd start hobbling a little bit. You could see he was still fighting through that. I think this is one tough guy too. So man, when he looks natural and he does, and when I see the well above average athleticism, and when I see the pass blocking holds up, it really does hold up. I like that. I don't have any reason not to draft him as high as anybody wants to draft him. I would not get in a war room and fight somebody on it. I would just caution, hey, there is tape here of him losing to speed rushers, but maybe he just hasn't had enough reps, especially, man, when you consider this was his first full-time year at left tackle, and he didn't get that many reps versus deep passes. All right. So, I think there is a high ceiling here. That's where I'm at. You've already mentioned it. I think Cleveland at 6 is where you would start thinking about him, right?
Yeah, that's I think the best slash highest fit that I see. Like I
Okay.
said, if the Cardinals took him at 3 and we're like, we love this dude, and we watched him at the combine, and we brought him in for a workout, and we think he can play on the right side, I wouldn't be mad at it. But it's just cleaner to have the other two stud right tackles who we both really like available instead, and it's just easier if you can just do that. But if they really believe in Freeling, I wouldn't be mad at them at 3. But Cleveland having a hole at left tackle, I that's the highest and cleanest and easiest fit that I think would be a really good fit for what they did with their interior over the course of free agency. You drop in your hopeful left tackle of the future, drop in your quarterback in 2027. I think that's the way they want to roll.
And I would be totally fine with that. When I graded him based on the tape, right? Just tape grade, I came up with early second round. But when you talk age, natural look, and position, and potential and ceiling, when you talk all of that, draft away. Take him number 3 overall. Not going to bother me. Take him 5, 6. Again, not going to bother me. That's totally fine. All right. That's it. I'm done on Freeling. Any last thoughts here? You want last word? All right. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. This is Pro Football Enterprises here on Pro Football and over on the Box Score Network. We've got a lot of these, and some of them are cleaner and easier to do than Freeling was, but we've got a lot of these for all kinds of different position groups. Okay, so go check them out. We try to really the benefit of having 2 guys on or 3 guys on is we basically cover everything before we're done. We're not going to miss much when we have 2 or 3 different guys on and our different viewpoints. Okay, so that's really a benefit of something we have on these stations. All right, that's it. Thank you. Have a great one. Bye.